Hey there everyone, this is Phantom Celebi, and this is MapleChat. So this is me playing MapleStory while chatting about life, love, everything and beyond, and just whatever, because I don't really do this very much. I don't just talk about my life, I don't talk about things that I do, things that I want to do, things that I watch, things I don't watch, stuff like that. I mean, life in general. So, okay, let's start. Okay, so if you hadn't known already, my name is Maria, and Maria is the name I was given by my mother, obviously, but it was my grandmother's name, and I never met my grandmother, but, I met my other grandmother. It's just, it's a very, when I tell people that, I never met my grandmother, and then, they're like, oh, didn't you tell me that you had a ton of wonderful memories with your grandma? Well, yeah, but my other grandma, I don't know why, for some reason, people seem to think you only have one grandmother. This is such a weird thing that I've gotten when talking to people. It's just oh, yeah, I mean, my dad has a mom, and my mom has a mom. I mean, that's how humans are created, the last I checked. Technically, my grandmother was actually my great aunt. Okay, so my dad, him and his mother, basically his mother wasn't exactly the best mother, so he lived with his aunt, who is my great aunt, but I call her grandma. Well, I called her grandma when she was alive. She was my grandmother, because she raised my dad. It's a very weird thing. So, she was there for me throughout most of my childhood, and up until my teens, and that is when she passed away. She was in her early 90s, though, so, I mean, she was in her 90s, so she wasn't exactly, young when she died. She was pretty old. But, hopefully, maybe that old, living until old age thing will pass on to me, though to be honest, I kind of doubt it, because it's I got lupus, so lupus, even though you can live a full life with lupus, I don't know, my aunt had lupus, and my cousin had it as well, so it's and neither one of them lived very long, so I'm going to appreciate life for as long as I may be on Earth, and I'm pretty sure if I'm a good girl, God will bless me with tons and tons of years of awesome life, love, and everything. I mean, I have been basically going through everything that is wonderful and beautiful and all that. At the end of the day, I didn't have any, real issues other... Okay, so... Hold on a sec. There's, somebody talking. It's so weird because it's, 1 in the morning where I am. And it's hey, what are you doing? I'm getting distracted because I'm hearing that person speak from the window. You probably won't hear it, but, I'm hearing it, so it's, it's so distracting. But, that's the point of this video. It's to be open and talk about stuff and all that. So, what have I been up to? Well, I've been making videos. That's great, right? I've been trying to make more videos to put them up so that I can actually get more out there. It is kind of crazy that I only have 200 and something subscribers, and I've had this channel for over a year, so the fact that I don't have as many subs is a little bad, but I'm not in it for the subs per se, though I would like to get out there a little bit more, so I probably will try to I don't English. Okay, I'm gonna probably try to put out stuff more often. Okay, I know said I wanted to do vlogs at some point, but the thing is I'm still kind of, I don't know, I guess insecure about myself. Part of my problems is my lupus, so it makes me... I mean, I mentioned this on Twitter, but I didn't mention this on YouTube, and I don't know how many people have Twitter. So, yeah, I do have problems with my face, where like, I'm bothered by the fact that it's not quite the little bit of fat that I have at the end of my face, because it's not that big of a deal. I have a pretty much an oval shaped face, so it's not even that visible. But like, I am bothered by the deep set dark circles under my eyes, and I don't always want to put on makeup. And the thing is I would feel the urge to actually always put on makeup if I was putting myself out on the internet all the time. Also, like, I haven't gotten myself one of those webcams, so it wouldn't look great. I'm not gonna lie. It would look terrible because I'd be using my cell phone. Like, every video I've done where I used my cell phone, it looks okay. Because, I don't know, I have a pretty good cell phone camera, but it's still a cell phone camera. It's not like an actual camera. Like, I got a pretty good deal on my mic. I didn't spend very much on it, because, like, this microphone originally was, like, I think it was $60, and I got it for a little less than $20. And I was just like, I was happy about that. I was like, yay, I'm gonna get this and I'm gonna love it forever. And it's just something temporary until I can find a better microphone. I was talking to, I asked a while ago one of the YouTubers that I'm really into. I asked him what kind of microphone could I use to enhance my audio quality and make my videos better. And he sent me a few that he thinks that would be good for me. And I would say he gave me some pretty good options. I do appreciate that he thought about my price range as well. Because it's like, a lot of YouTubers, when they give you suggestions for things, they give you stuff that's so incredibly expensive. And it's just like, I get it, the stuff that costs more are better quality. But, for God's sakes, I don't make any money. My channel is not monetized, and I don't think it's going to be monetized anytime soon. I mean, I need at least 1,000 subscribers just to get $5, and I'm probably not even going to get that, because I need more views. But, like, I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that 2020 is the year that I definitely get more subs, so that I can at least have a bigger audience for spreading out awareness of issues that I have in my mind. Like, I want to donate to more charities. I can't, I can't personally do that because I don't have the money for it, but I figured the best way to actually help out a lot of charities is to spread word of them. So, still going on currently is a campaign for Stomp Out Bullying. So, I'm going to be putting out stuff for every giveaway. For every giveaway I do for The Sims 4, I'm going to be, giving extra entries for people who spread awareness for Stomp Out Bullying. And that can be on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, all that. You just have to show me on Twitter. That way I know that you did it. And then afterwards, I will, put into consideration that you are that person who did this. So yeah, a lot of it is through Twitter because that's the only way I get around through social networks. Twitter's my main one, and I don't really use Instagram, mainly for the reason I was talking about, that I'm not comfortable around cameras, and I personally don't like the way my face looks because of the why can't I speak? But yeah, because of the deep set dark circles, because I have an autoimmune disorder. So autoimmune disorders suck. What's the best non-nasty word for man grapes? It sucks, man grapes. I guess that still sounds bad. Oh well, you guys will know what I'm talking about. It's bad. It's very, very, very bad. And I deal with it every day, and I try to be, for the most part, not complain, because I feel like if people hear me saying all the time, my back hurts, oh, my joints hurt, my body hurts, oh my god, it feels like my stomach is pressing, stuff like that, I'm pretty sure people would be, panicking, or be you're faking it, or something like that, I mean, that's what a lot of my former friends used to think. They used to think I was faking it. And the thing is like, they're like, oh, why are you always sick? And it's like explaining to people that you have something that will never go away and that never seems to get better. It's kind of frustrating because, like, they never seem to get that it won't go away. And every person's different. So, like, for instance, my former friend would talk about how he thinks it's weird that I'm always sick when one of his friends, who also happens to be a coworker, also has lupus and isn't as intensely in pain and suffering as much as I am. But, like, to be honest, that person also has probably a pretty good insurance plan, and at the end of the day, every person handles their physical problems differently. So that's just how she is, and I am a very different person. Like, I'm not gonna say that my disorder is super duper rare. There are quite a few people who do have it, but, like, it's not very common. I would say not very common. It's not, like, rare, but it's not very common either. So, like, also, it's not very common for guys to have it, but, like, it does happen. Like, because somebody was telling me that, like, they thought that this person was lying because they're like, you know, lupus is a girl's disease. And I was just like, are you dumb? I was like, are you serious? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, lupus is a human disease. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the gender. It doesn't matter the sex. It doesn't matter, period. Like, you can get it if you're a human. Like, it doesn't always manifest in people, but, like, quite a few people do carry the gene for it. And, like, some people get it, some people don't. It's just, like, a lot of autoimmune disorders, they're triggered by something, usually. Like, you get an injury or some sort of stomach issue, some sort of bacteria, and then all out of nowhere, your immune reaction decides to kick in at that point. Like, I was reading about it, and for me, most likely, what it was the few times I got really intense illnesses when I was younger. Like, I kid you not, I had rubella as a kid. And, like, you could look this up. Like, my school district, there was a large outbreak. What's an outbreak? An outbreak of German measles during the early 90s. And I happened to be one of those kids who got it, and I was just like, wow, my body sucks. And after that, my immune system was never the same. So I would have to say that's probably when I started to manifest my lupus symptoms as well. Even though, I mean, I don't know for certain, but a little after that, maybe a few years afterwards, I started getting thyroid problems, and then after that, I started getting more and more health issues. I had low blood sugar, my weight fluctuated on and off, and people were telling me, oh, that's just normal when you have thyroid problems, and I was like, yeah, I guess so. But, like, also, it's weird. Like, I would always have low blood sugar issues, I'd have thyroid problems, I would have issues regulating temperature, like, I would get fevers on and off, and I would tell the doctor this all the time, and they were like, oh, well, let's check your temperature now. I mean, and then I say to them, well, what's the point? I don't have the fever now. It's like, I don't get what the point of that is. It's like, oh, you said you had a fever at one point, but you don't have it now. Let's check your temperature. And I'm like, I would know if I had a fever. Like, no joke, I would know if I had a fever. Like, I've had several fevers in the past, I would know if I had a fever. And, like, sometimes the doctors, when you go to a doctor when you have lupus, oh my god, it's so dumb. For one, a lot of the times I've had to remind the doctors I have lupus. Even though it's on my medical records, I have told the doctor this several times, and they just keep on asking for it. I mean, I'm like, ugh. And I guess this has turned into me talking about the frustrations of having lupus. But hey, that's the point of Maple Chat, to talk about my life and stuff and everything. And I'm just putting it out there, like all the stuff that I did and went through and etc, 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 everything. But yeah, like I don't like going to the doctor, but I have to. I go to the doctor a lot, like I would say at least twice a week. And I used to go 3 times a week because I also used to go to therapy, but I stopped going to therapy because I had a bad experience with a therapist, and she wasn't exactly a good therapist. I'm not going to hold it against therapists, but it does give me anxiety. And the thing is like I was going to a therapist and a psychiatrist because I have dysthymia, and I also have I have PTSD. Dysthymia is pretty much depression, but I have PTSD, which is another type of depression, which also causes anxiety. So anything when it comes to anxiety, like with that sort of thing, I kind of get, like, people who tell me that they have PTSD, like, a lot of people, like, okay, so people have this weird preconceived notion that the only way you can have PTSD is if you've ever been in the military, which is not the case, because you can have PTSD for just about anything. Like, when I was a little girl, the police came into my home, and they broke down the door, and they went after my parents, and I remember, like, for years just crying and crying and crying over this, and having nobody listen to me about it. And, like, I tried so hard not to make such a huge deal out of it because everybody didn't think it was a big deal. But it's just like my brothers had put my family into a very dangerous situation. And in my mind, I kept on thinking that it was like, why are the police being so mean to us? And I still to this very day believe that they screwed up, because even though they were doing their job, the way they handled things was pretty bad. Like, they had sent in a full-on team. They literally heard a little girl answering the door, and they didn't have any restraint. They just full-on knocked me over. They could have easily crushed me with that door. They could have easily killed my father. They could have killed my mom. They probably could have even killed my little sister. So the way they handled things was terrible. And it's like it's been so long, so I don't even remember I barely remember what these people look like, except maybe for the female police officer who pulled me and my sister out of the closet, and I stepped on her foot because I was just like incredibly upset. And I tried to get my sister out, and they basically, the way that situation happened was the police came to the door, and my mom told me never to open the door unless I see who it is. So I look through the little peephole, and I'm a little girl, so I can't actually see through it very well. So I'm standing on a chair. So I look through the peephole, and I'm like, who is it? And the police officers are there, and they're like, can you open the door? And instead of waiting for me to alert my mother of the situation, they full on just smashed the door in. Like, they didn't bother waiting. They just full on came in, and I'm like, dude, I'm a little girl, and how am I supposed to know you're actually police officers? Like, at the end of the day, you could be people trying to rob my home. So, I was trying to get my mother, like a good child should do. Like, when you hear or see someone at the door, like, if you're a kid, don't open the door. Just, like, have the nearest adult do it. But, yeah. So, they knock me over. I'm freaking out. I run. The police officers are swarming my apartment. My apartment's not huge. So, like, this was a crazy amount of police officers. And they were all over the place. And, like, my first reflex is protect my little baby sister. So, I don't know what I was thinking, but my first reflex was to take her and put her in the closet. So at that point, I went to go, after putting her in the closet, I went to go check on, like, I didn't, okay, so before you say anything, I didn't close the door on the closet. I just kind of put her in there, and I put pillows there so that she's safe, which wasn't smart, because now I know this isn't smart, because she was really little, and she probably could have suffocated on the pillows if she had rolled anywhere around that closet. But, like, this is little girl me. I thought, like, okay, so this is a temporary thing, she'll be safe in there. And I go to see these crazy police officers putting guns to my father's head, and I'm just, like, freaking out, and I'm crying, and I'm scared, and I'm just, like, it was a very traumatic experience, and because of that, I had pretty bad anxiety issues when it came to police officers. And then years went along, and my PTSD got worse because all the horrible things that happened to me as a teenager. Like, for instance, there was a guy who would stalk me all the time and then told his friends that I was stalking him. And it was really weird because he didn't even live anywhere near where I live, and he was taking the route that I took. So when I tried to bring this up to them, they didn't believe me, and then they treated me terribly. And the only person who did believe me was my at the time boyfriend. So yeah, it was pretty frustrating. And then I started talking to people from the school, and they told me that, like, they would handle it. And when they did do that, they made things worse. And, like, this guy eventually tried to hurt one of my friends, and it made me upset because it made me think that she probably wouldn't have gotten hurt if he didn't know that we were friends, because he automatically started mistreating her the moment he found out that me and her were friends. Like, he was trying to date her, he was, like, trying to be cool with her, and then he found, basically, she found out about all the crazy stuff he did to me, and it was a nightmare and a half. It was a nightmare and a half. And, like, I tried to be friends with his friend group, but not so much him. And that didn't work out either, because he's basically the ringleader. So if you don't get along with the ringleader, you don't get along with the friends. Because, like, I didn't realize this. I thought, you know, maybe they were friends, but we can all still be friends. Like, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt that they're not terrible like somebody else in their friend group. Like, I still kind of do that to this very day, which is kind of dumb. I mean, I'm just too nice to people when it comes to that stuff. I try not to judge others, but sometimes it just happens. Like, people just turn out to be exactly what you expected them to be. But, like, I always try to give people a chance. So, with all the stuff that happened to me as a teenager, and as a young adult, and all that, I would say that definitely will give you PTSD. Like, when I was, like, I told you guys the story about when I was in my later teens, and, you know, my boyfriend, he had depression issues as well, and it caused issues for our relationship, and it was a sorry, my throat is a little hoarse right now, but yeah, like, it was a journey and a half. It was pretty bad, and it did actually cause issues for me in my life, and I feel like I've worked through it, but, like, my therapists recently, for the most part, haven't been great, and they have caused me another bit of emotional strain. I mean, I was hospitalized, like, a few years ago. I was hospitalized by a therapist who was being way too paranoid about me. Like, they plain out put on my record that they thought that I had full-blown, like, the worst type of depression and that I was in risk of hurting myself, which I never was at risk of ever hurting myself. I've been pretty depressed. I'm not gonna lie. I've done a lot of crazy things because of my depression, but I never, ever, ever, ever would commit suicide because I have experienced what it's like to lose someone to suicide, and I would never want anyone to go through that. And it really hurts because, I mean, I would say, like, don't call... I at one point called my ex selfish for what he did, but at the end of the day, you can't call someone selfish for being suicidal because it's like, it's an illness. Like, everybody suffers through things in one way or another. And I'm going to put this out there. A lot of people, this is something I want to end on. A lot of people would view people who are suicidal as somebody who might be poor, somebody who might be, like, going through a lot, who went through some sort of crazy drama in their life. And it's not always the case. With my ex, he comes from a rich family. Like, the area they lived in was the nicer part of Brooklyn, like where all the nice homes are and all the pretty scenic places, and like they had a garage, which if you have a garage in your house in Brooklyn, that means you have a bit of money, because like that means you can own a car and all that. And most people over here don't drive. So like they have a big old house, they have a nice house. The both of the parents are pretty well off. They don't like me, by the way. They hate me because they're pretty convinced that I'm the reason why their son's not around anymore, because he was talking about how depressed he was because of me and him breaking up. But like I realized years later that I'm not the reason why we broke up. But yeah, like he was white, he grew up in a rich family, had a nice house, he had a maid, a butler, everything you can ever think of, but he was horribly depressed. His parents were never around, never there for him, they weren't good to him, and they were constantly trying to force him into doing stuff he never wanted to do. Like, his dad wanted him to get a sports scholarship, his mom wanted him to go off to medical school. His family was pushing him back and forth. He was always at an immense amount of stress. And when we were together, I tried to take that away from him. Try to make it so that he realizes that, you know, he's still young. He's still growing, and that's how things are. But, like, I guess the fact that I wasn't pushing him into doing an amazing job at either being an athlete or a doctor kind of bothered his parents. Like, his sister, she was very sweet to me. She's still very sweet to me. Every now and again we'll talk. Like, she's the only one in the family who does talk to me, though, because they all blame me for the death. Even though, like, according to his sister, they were pretty harsh to him before he committed suicide. And I'm not going to blame them completely, because, like, suicide is very much a mental, physical thing where, like, the person themselves can be going through a lot of emotional stress, and that'll just happen. And the person will have these thoughts, and if they're not getting help for it, then they'll take over them, and eventually it'll end their life. With him, he was going through quite a lot, and I would say depression does not discriminate based off of your social background, your race, your gender, or anything like that. And in fact, in the world, a lot of people who commit suicide are men, which is kind of crazy if you think about it, because it's like, that's half of the population, and a bunch of them are committing suicide. So I would say try to reach out to your fellow sad boy out there and try to give him love and support, because maybe that could save his life. Anyway, I'm going to end this Maple Chat here. Like, comment, and subscribe for more spastastic content, and I will see you in the next one. Peace. Goodbye. Mwah. It's time once again for the Phantom Squad top tier. These are for the people who are awesome sauce. And I know that you guys have heard this every single time you've seen my video, but to be honest, I feel like these people definitely do deserve the appreciation and love and respect that I give them, because they have been there for me throughout everything. They are my friends, they have supported me through Patreon and all that, and I appreciate it. The fact that I'm going over 200 subscribers now and really developing my channel really does touch me, because it really does make me feel like you guys care. So continue watching, and if anything, like, I will update this at some point, but these are the people who have been true blue there for me throughout everything. And the few that are bigger YouTubers, they've actually been very supportive to me in the past. They've talked to me, they've done all this stuff, like Veggie Gamer and Base Shaman. They've been very sweet with me, giving me advice, doing things with me. They really, I think the two of them have been very good to me, and that's why they're on this list. So here's to you, Jazz the Chameleon, Potato _ a bunch of numbers, Edie Rose 23, Cute Girl Sim, Calorie _ Aiken, Malunix5, Carissa Sims, Benjamin GYT, Lovely Laura, Veggie Gamer, Base Shaman, EJ Blackdove, Trippy D, Ray of Sunshine X1, Sonic Jenny, Shifty, Kaleda Sims, Prismatic Simmer, Sims Lena, Stray Shadowcat, Sims Lita, and Josh CHG. Hope to see you guys in the next video, and if you guys want to keep up with all my endeavors and beyond, follow me on Twitter, and all my social networks will be in the description, and I will see you soon. Peace.